Eric, however, would often leave the parties and go out and befriend some waif he met on the street. He identified with the fans.
You know, I love fans and stuff. I do.
Maybe he felt more like them than like one of us at that point.
Yeah.
He sometimes brought girls to his room who had been camping outside trying to catch a glimpse of the band. For his comfort, he chose women like that over models and penthouse pets. Issues shape personalities.
It was wonderful. I mean, you know, every night the kids were out there, they were screaming.
During one of those lavish private parties on the Australian tour, Eric became fascinated by one girl in the club. He was wearing a camouflage outfit again, and everyone else was dressed for nightlife. The guys in leather jackets and frilly shirts, and the girls in very little. Except for this one girl, who looked like a female version of Eric, in a woman's camouflage outfit. She was very beautiful, and very shapely. But Eric didn't want to go over, so I arranged for the girl to come over and talk to him. And the two of them really hit it off. He was in the process of convincing her to come back to the hotel, and she kind of laughed and said, "Look, I can't go back with you. I'm married." Eric backed off immediately. I was amazed. "What's the problem?" I said. "If you want her to come, just invite her, and then it's up to her. Whether she's married or not, it's her choice." So we told her where we were going to be next. Melbourne, I think. And wouldn't you know it, she decided to come to see him. She got on a plane and flew to meet us. Most guys would have been thrilled.
One day, he rented a car and driver to spend a day in the countryside with a girl he'd met.
But Eric was so nervous that by the end of the day,
He was so nervous, he told us, that he got awful gas and had to stop the car every 10 minutes to go to the bathroom.
and it wasn't the kind of gas you could get rid of silently.
Deadly silence.
They were all of the 1812 overture variety. Needless to say, the girl didn't hang out for long.
He was depressed afterwards about what an idiot he felt like.
It was always like that with Eric. Something would always happen to him.
On the last tour I did in Australia with Kiss, I mean, it was just a pleasure playing with Eric because, you know, on and off the stage, he's a solid guy, and I never had a problem with Eric, unlike some other people.
Eric wrote a long letter in response to a girl who'd written him. Eric was always very emotional, and it wasn't unusual for him to reply to a fan letter with a 5 or 10-page handwritten answer. After he replied to one letter, he ended up having something of a friendship with this girl from Phoenix. He couldn't wait to see her. After our sound check, Eric left, and I noticed a stunning girl in a red dress standing at the back of the empty hall.
Oh no!
She had on makeup, perfume, the whole thing. As was my custom, I brought her into my office, which was the backstage bathroom, and threw her on the floor. We had an exchange, shall we say. We became very close friends in a number of positions.
Wow.
And there was a photo session afterward. There always was. Then she happily left. Later that evening, as we were putting on our makeup, I told Eric about my liaison. He wasn't really listening. He was still preoccupied with his Phoenix girl. So we started talking about that, and I happened to ask him how he would know her, since they had never met. Well, he said, "She told me she'd be wearing a red dress." As he was telling me what she looked like,
The horror of it dawned on me.
Huh? What?
I showed him the photos from the afternoon's meet and greet and asked, "Is this her?" Well, he was devastated. I apologized. I told him I didn't know, and that wasn't even the end of it. That night back at the hotel, the two of them met, and he was very upset with her. They fought, and he threw her out. And she came down the hall for a second visit with me.
Oops.
I didn't want Eric to be upset with me, not over this or over anything else.
No.
I tried to give him the lay of the land and told him that he couldn't take any of this seriously. For me, it was about fun and games. If you go to a beauty pageant and there are 4 girls there, do you really care who you wind up with? But since it was all so new to him, it really affected him.
Just because I'm a drummer doesn't mean I'm stupid, you know.
Pretty much Paul and Gene treated him like, you know, he was an employee. And I used to take him on the side and said, "Don't worry about it, everything's gonna be okay, buddy." I was always like the guy, whenever there was an argument or dissension in the band, I would always try to, heal it. Probably because I'm a Taurus and I don't like confrontation, usually. but don't fuck with me.
The first hints of Eric's trouble started to come out too. He also went on about how he was losing his hair. His hair was so big that when he moved forward, it moved backwards. It was always moving in the opposite direction from the rest of him. And yet he constantly wanted me to look at his head. Look, is it thinning here? No. And strangest of all, Eric struggled with the idea that he wasn't the original drummer of the band. I didn't understand it. I mean, of course he wasn't the original drummer. He was the second drummer. So what? There was no talking him out of his funk when he started obsessing over the fact that he would never be the first drummer.
Eric Carr, by the way, I couldn't have been any happier for a guy to sit in that seat when I left the band. I thought he was one of the best drummers I've ever heard, or they ever had.
You know, obviously, of course, it was an uncomfortable situation for Peter and for me. I've seen Peter and hung out with him a few times. But, you know, it's never going to be one of those situations where we're going to be best of buddies because it's uncomfortable. I don't think he has anything personally against me. You know, it's just the way life works. You know, it could have gone either way for either of us. But as far as the fans are concerned, and I just want to thank all the KISS fans yet again because they're the best in the world. All the resentment and all the, you know, the stuff that I thought I was going to get from the fans, and I was ready for it because I'm saying, oh my God, you know, I'm replacing this guy that everyone thought was irreplaceable. They're going to hate me, you know, and it never happened. There's no band that I know of that, except maybe for the Beatles, that had fans like us. Each member of the band has his own fans. Not many bands have that. You have one or two guys that are like the main things, and then the other guys don't. But KISS has that, you know. I mean, I can't think of another band where people know every guy in the band. And the KISS fans, they were with me, you know. I think they were feeling, if Eric is cool enough for Gene, Paul, and Ace, then he's cool enough for us. We want to see the band go on. I never got any resentment at all.
I mean, KISS fans are the craziest fans in the world. They used to come up to me and they go, do you have sex with the makeup on or off? What? You know, girls used to crawl in the windows. Our fans are nuts. But, you know, they're probably not that much crazier than I am, so I get along with them. We're okay. Yeah. Everything's good.
The thing I always liked about KISS, you know, beyond the music that I knew, is that the visual thing was so great. I really loved it, and I would walk past newsstands and stuff like that and say, man, you know, this is the kind of band that I wish that I was in. Detroit is one of my all-time favorites. You know, it's one of the songs that I auditioned with. It's always been, actually for me, the way I play it, because I'm doing different stuff than Peter did, because I do double bass where he was only using single. It's one of the hardest songs for me to play. But I love it, you know, because it's just such a cool song. It's really one of the KISS classics. I knew a lot of the music of KISS, you know, in the mid-'70s and stuff like that. I was into a totally different kind of music, you know, and so I didn't listen to a lot of rock. Unfortunately, sorry guys and girls out there, but you know, I love rock and roll. Led Zeppelin, you know, is my favorite band, period. But you know, the Scorpions, Helix, AC/DC, I love. Hanoi Rocks, except, you know, I like a lot of bands, a lot of different people, man. But Zeppelin is always the one for me. In all actuality, this is kind of cool because I have this. The artist, there was a time, like maybe 80 or 81, where there was a possibility that at some point I might do a solo album, just like, you know, the other 4 solo albums before. So we commissioned the artist that actually did the original 4 solo albums to do a painting of me that would have been my solo album cover. So it looks exactly like the other ones, you know, just with my face on it. It has an orange glow around the head because that was my color, like a rust color. I have that artwork, and I mean, it's beautiful. It's you know, it's an amazing artwork. It never actually happened. It's just that it was something that they wanted to take into account just in case it did, you know, the situation did arise. They wanted to have the artwork done. So I've got a KISS solo album cover with me in makeup, you know, for whenever.
The Unmasked tour had been a turbulent one for the band. To make matters worse, the band and Bill Aucoin had a meeting and decided to confront me about going Hollywood. They said, and rightfully so, that because my relationship with Diana and before that with Cher was so public, it changed the fans' perspective of KISS. We'd always been outsiders who never fraternized with other celebrities, and now there I was actually having relationships with these women. It just wasn't rock and roll, I was told.
No. In Australia, I began to seriously question Bill Aucoin. His cocaine use had become more extreme, and since splitting up with Sean Delaney, his general behavior had become reckless too. I was no longer laughing.
All this inner turmoil in the band wasn't helping Ace's mental well-being.
Not really.
Aucoin no longer seemed to have the spark of leadership. Eric was simply happy to be in there, and hardly ever voiced an opinion. I was not the favorite guy in the band at the time. After the tour, we retreated to our separate homes and spent time away from each other. I came back to New York to a new dynamic that would unfold before my eyes. Diana and I were not together most of the time, and one day Cher called and told me she'd been offered an acting part in a Broadway play called Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean, Jimmy Dean. And could she stay at my place? I said yes without hesitation. If we were no longer lovers, we were certainly still friends. In hindsight, this was probably unfair to Diana. Although we each had condos on Fifth Avenue, only 5 blocks from each other, I'd be with Diana in the daytime and sometimes keep Cher company at night. She was venturing into a new area in her life as an actress and felt unsure of herself. She needed me and I was happy to be there for her. Though Diana and Cher had been friends before, it was clear that their friendship could no longer continue. But this too would pass, and Diana and I grew closer. She was recording new material for what would become her first non-Motown record, and Kiss was about to enter the studio to record a kind of record we had never done before, a concept album called
The Elder.